looks like we're underway. So, yes, this is Deltarune Chapter 1, and yeah. So we have to go through the prologue, basically, where we make a character. So there's not really a lot we do here apart from just mashing Z and Enter and the occasional arrow movement. Obviously, you'll notice both runners are running in Japanese. It is actually marginally faster to run in Japanese, even though, you know, there's not really much difference overall because the mashing actually is the same for both versions, not unlike another Toby Fox game. But anyways, so we're about to get through the prologue and into the actual game proper. And basically, pseudo-translating for those who don't understand Japanese, it's basically saying character choice doesn't matter. You know, everything you've chosen is just going to be thrown out the window. So you'll notice both runners will actually go back to bed, and this is what makes the run NG plus and allows us to skip a good part of the run. And that little twinkle up there, that is the wrist protector, and both runners getting that means that the game has been open for less than 8 minutes. Yes. This game actually has good mashing on all its languages and versions apart from another Toby Fox game that I won't mention because, yeah. So the main thing straight away with this game is movement. Unlike Undertale, where the movement stayed the same regardless, as long as you don't bump or collide into objects, you actually maintain and increase your momentum to a certain maximum. Also, another feature with this game is the Overlord Interactions. Unlike in Undertale, where you had to grind for encounters, in Deltarune, most of the encounters we run into are actually in the overworld, and you can actually see them. So we have Susie, and Susie's kind of an important character, because coming up in a couple of areas from now, we have a bit of damage manipulation we want to do with Susie. But yes, I'll explain that later on. So I'll go over what the wrist protector is. The wrist protector, it basically automatically mashes for you at 15 text boxes per second. Basically that means you don't actually have to hold down any keys, and it does everything automatically. However, most runners do still opt to hold down at least one of Shift or X. Well, personally, I do a sticky key setup with left shift, and that basically means I have those two keys automatically held down for the duration. Yeah, another example of Overlord Interactions is you can actually take damage from the bullet sprites. So we're going to be entering the castle town area now, and we're going to get this cutscene where we get introduced to the third character of the party. And get a bit of unskippable text, but we skip this cutscene coming up because, you know, we don't really need to see it. And here we have Lancer, who, yeah, basically reminds you of another character from another Toby Fox game that I won't mention. Now, let's see if both runners can get a 3-turn. Ultimately, you want 3 gold hits or 3 crit hits on Lancer in order to 3-turn him and optimize it. Also, both runners taking damage on Susie on the first turn. Radhew getting a little bit better RNG than Star. Taking an extra hit there. Star also getting the 3-turn, whereas Radhew will have to get the 4-turn. And he'll defend there, which saves a little bit of time. So yeah, it's about 7 seconds difference between getting a 3-turn and defending on the 4th turn, if you have to do it that way. So Star with a little bit of a lead at the moment. However, with the way encounters work in this game, and especially later on in the forest section, it can get a bit iffy. But Star on a good pace at the moment. That would be a 4:37 Castle Town, I think. And Radhew will be getting a 4:45. So it's about 7 or 8 seconds. So yeah, on Star screen you'll see what I was talking about before about the encounters being overworld. of course, we actually have the ability to skip the encounters completely rather than having them come up randomly. And a lot of this game actually depends, like I said, a lot of this game depends on movement, and as you saw, Radhew unfortunately getting the second Radhew encounter. Oh, and he has to two-turn the second one. So we have Star on the triple Hathy at the moment, and taking a bit of damage there. That actually allows you to skip some dialogue from Lancer. And you'll notice as well that in certain attacks, the runners tend to graze the bullet patterns. That's more so because it actually is a little bit faster to graze the attacks and get the TP meter built up. And we'll see Radhew coming up to the head triple Hathy now. I was about to say head Hathy, but that's way later. And yeah, Star in the middle of the Susie fanfare cutscene, because Susie reluctantly rejoins the party, and she follows at a distance so as not to be associated with us, because Susie being the loner type. And yeah, with this puzzle here, there's a little bit of movement, but Star not having too much trouble. And now we have C round. Of course, we just want to quickly bat him away because it's faster. We have Star coming up to the Jigsaw Reencounter now, which is one of the few scripted encounters. And hopefully this is where we get to see a little bit more damage manipulation with Susie, depending on how things go. Okay, Star opting to attack first and then have the one left, and gets Ralsei as a target, so no damage manip there. The one thing with this run is it's actually a very fast-paced run, so I'll try to be going back and forth between the runners, depending on where they are, respectively. And I'll try and cover as much as I can in that case. So we have Star doing this puzzle here. And if you actually position yourself right, you can get both switches before actually getting the dialogue from Ralsei. So yeah, Start doing a little bit of movement up there to skip this cutscene, this encounter. And now moving on to checkerboard. And coming up at the end of this area with the encounter, the scripted boss fight, is where we actually have to worry about the damage minute. It's actually really good movement from Star with that first Pond Man encounter. That's usually a bit finicky if you're not careful. And Radhew also getting the Rudden skip there. So now with Star we have to pick a name for the group, and each option's about as fast as the other, so realistically, you know, we just call ourselves the Fun Gang. We just go with that. And yeah, Radhew unfortunately bonking later on, which, again, with this game, if you actually collide with walls or objects, you will lose your momentum, so it's very important with encounters. Basically, you want to maintain your movement speed as much as you can throughout, because, as you just saw, so a little bit of a clever reference here. Obviously, C round getting to the end of the checkerboard, now becoming K round, because in checkers, obviously, when you get to the end, you become a king. Now, this is where I was talking about with taking damage for Susie, and looks like Star's not having any luck with that at the moment. And Star does get the Susie there, and she does get Susie down. That's good. So what that does is it saves a few seconds, because on the third turn Susie would attack and K-Round would actually do a move where it self-healed, basically, and it wasted a little bit of time. Yeah, basically he was crowned, yeah. That was basically the emphasis on K-Round, because crowned. But yeah, let's see if Radhew has the same luck as Star. First turn Ralsei, that's not looking promising, but there's still one more turn. Nope. So we have one Susan death, not two. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Now let's see. Okay, doesn't get the BM attack from K-Round, so as you just saw, K-Round self-heals with the milk. But he can also attack Susie on that turn because there's still technically an attack being done. So it's kind of a meme to call it the BM attack because Susie still gets attacked but doesn't take damage. Also, yeah. So now we have Star in the forest area. And this is where we start getting these puzzles that we have to do. Not really too difficult, but, you know, that one there's sort of the introductory one. This one we don't have to worry about, as well as the Bloxer that's coming up. So coming up on Star's End, we have the Clover Encounter. And there was actually a little strat that was found where you can actually spare Clover in 2 turns by using the manual. And Star not defending with Ralsei, but that's fine. Doesn't really lose any time. Yeah. It was actually found by yours truly. So basically that saves a turn, because normally you'd have to spare by talking to Clover about the 3 things that they like. So coming up to one of the harder skips in the run, and Star gets it, so that is actually really good for Star, because Bloxer, what we call Bloxer 1 skip, it's really fidgety and there's a tight window that you can actually get caught in if you're not careful. So now we have the build your own something thrashing machine. I'll say build your own butt thrashing machine because it's another word, but yeah. Okay, Star's opting to go for the quicker option of making the first item that comes up. Now, let's see if Radhew has the same luck with getting Bloxer 1. And Radhew also gets it. So there's a little bit of a different method you can do. You can either stop where both the runners stopped, or you can actually stop at the end of the pathway and wait until the Bloxer crosses over and walk down past it that way. So we have Star entering the maze section, and this is really straightforward. All you really have to do here is just go the opposite pathways to whatever Lancer and Susie go, because they obviously don't know directions. And it looks like we are getting a duck in this run. Now, with this here, you'll see that Star did a certain movement. Basically, because we skipped the first Bloxer encounter in the double Bloxer room, the second encounter we got just before is actually going to be a lot more aggressive and will chase us at the same speed. But the problem is, obviously, we have to be careful with our movement so we don't get caught by it. And that's why you saw Star move to the right, then wait for a second. Now we have the tag team battle, as I like to call it, between Chris and Ralsei against Susie and Lancer. And what you want to do here is you want to talk to Lancer twice, and then put Susie to sleep, then talk to Lancer 2 more times. Now let's see, Radhew's coming up to the second Bloxer skip. Let's see if they get it. Well, they're doing a different method, but they still got it. I've never seen it done like that before. But at the end of the day, maintaining momentum, so that's a good thing. So, Star's finished with the tag battle. And now it's actually Lancer joining the party because Lancer wants to be on our side. So, just have a little bit of music going at the moment. Also, stool form is a thing. So yeah, this run's usually about 30 minutes long, give or take. So we're practically about halfway done at the moment, and most of the hard stuff's out of the way. It's basically just the castle. More fanfare. And on Starscreen, we're about to get betrayed. Because apparently Lancer doesn't want us to actually hurt his father, who is actually the... Well, you'll find out soon enough. If you've played the game and you've beaten them, you know who I'm talking about, but for those who haven't played the game, I won't spoil. So we've got this little chase scene going on here. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions about anything with the run so far that they've seen and want to know more about, obviously, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm about as knowledgeable as most of the other people within the community that run this game. So, yeah. On Starscreen, you saw her interact with the wall twice and then the shackles. You need to interact with 3 things in order to talk to Ralsei and progress the game from there. And obviously the shackles are actually useful for later on because we put them on Susie and it does more damage. If I had to guess at the moment, I'd say Star's probably about a minute, maybe. It's hard to say if both runners are on PB pace or not because, again, yeah. Although I think Star might be, if not very close. This may be a low 28. It's hard to say, really. So, yeah, once we see this puzzle here done, it's basically... We control Susie for a little bit, and there's basically an auto-scroller, if you want to call it that. We don't do anything except for controlling our sprite to not get hit. Yeah, and basically at this point it's just a meme. Yeah, I know that Star's PBs are 2803. I'm just trying to figure out if both runners are on PB pace because it's kind of like it's hard to tell at this point because obviously anything can happen. If they have a really good king fight and if they have a really good castle segment, this may well be a PB for both. Obviously, there's 3 things that can happen during this part of the run after the cutscene. There's 2 more encounter skips, and then there's obviously the final boss fight. Well, sorry, I say there's 1 more encounter skip, because the other one is basically next to impossible unless you have literal perfect movement. So yeah, basically we just wail on Lancer and try to build up our TP meter as much as we can to become the true pacifist. And yeah, on Star's End, we're about to regroup and progress through the castle. So, 1847. Yeah, actually, if Star actually has a really good card castle onwards, this may be a sub 28. But yeah, like I said, I don't really want to jinx it or put the commentator's curse on it. Yeah. And okay, so start opting for the normal but slightly slower run and ranger skip. It's about a couple of seconds slower, but obviously it's more guaranteed to not get caught. There is a faster method which we may see Radhew attempt. Also coming up is Mac and Cheese Man, aka Rules Card. So here's the encounter that's coming up on Star's screen that's basically next to impossible to skip. And Star are obviously deciding to forego the actual skip. You can actually two-turn the head-healthy encounter, but it involves a lot of menuing, and I think Star just going for the simple method of just all-out attack. Okay, so Radhew also going for the normal... Nope. Didn't quite get that. So that's a little bit of time lost there. Both runs going for the normal strat there. So, yeah. Start completing the second rules card puzzle. Most difficult puzzle in the game, actually. Kappa. So we're going to go and buy the Brave Axe here, and basically we're going to put the Shackle and Axe on Susie, because that gives her a damage boost, which we're going to use against the King later on. So yeah, Radhew actually going for the more optimal strat of sparing one head-healthy a turn, and then unfortunately still getting a 3-turn. So with Star we have the second K round fight, but this time we actually have to, somewhat ironically, throw Ralsei at the crown to try and dislodge it. Or as someone in the guide called it, yeeting the goat boy. And yeah, 3-turn is basically optimal for the K round fight. So again, if Star has a really good King fight, then this should be a sub 28. Well, this may be a sub 28. I don't really, yeah. So Rad also equipping the Shackle and Axe. It's not actually too far behind, probably about 45 seconds maybe. Looks like the streams are frozen on Twitch. There we go. So yeah, there's actually a strat you can do for the King fight where you can actually get a 10-turn, and that's actually slightly faster than doing 9-turn strats. But by the looks of it, Star's going for the normal 10-turn method. So what you'd normally do here is you'd use the Red Buster attack, which is where you act on Susie with Chris. But what that does is it actually takes up the 2 attacks instead of 1, so sometimes it's actually just more practical to do the 10-turn and use Rude Buster, since you're basically still getting the Chris attack as well. So yeah, this is... Okay, for a second I thought Red was going to do Red Buster strats, but obviously not. Yeah. Yeah, so... Oh, well, not Red Buster, the Rude Buster, sorry, doing a lot more damage. Oh no, it looks like Radhew did go for the Rude Buster strat. Oh, Red Buster, sorry. I get those two confused because they both have similar names. Except one's red and one's just rude. So this should be the 10th turn for Star, and hopefully this is the end of the fight. And yes, that is the end of the fight. Yeah, this may be a PB for Star, it looks like. Yeah, that would probably make sense, you know, with the whole determination thing. Yeah, assuming Star's movement and that at the end of the run is actually fairly optimal, this should probably be a 28 flat or a sub 28. And Radhew also coming up on the 10th turn as well. Okay, so he's going to have to do one more turn. So, yeah. Yeah, because Radhew's about a minute 5 behind Star, I think, compared to when they had their post-King collapse, or whatever you want to call it. Also, big reveal on Star's screen that Ralsei is, in fact, a goat that looks similar to Azrael, but isn't actually. Or at least not that we know of. There's no canon proof that Ralsei is, in fact, Azrael, because that's just how the game works, apparently. And, of course, now we have the fountain sequence. And, yeah. I actually want to say with these runners and with their respective times and all that, this has actually been a really good race so far. Not really a lot that's gone on the Radhew encounter and fields for Brad. But other than that, you know, both runners getting all the encounter skips that they need to and all the difficult ones that come up as well. Yeah. So we have this post-Underworld cutscene. I don't know what you call it. Dark World, Underworld, whatever. And we see that Susie's actually reformed a little bit, and she's no longer this loner that wants to beat up on people all the time. So yeah, assuming Star has good mashing at the end and doesn't do what I did and accidentally walk away from the bed, this should be a sub 28. And it's a 27.55 from Star, so that's a new PB for her by 8 seconds. And of course, we have this cutscene coming up here, which is actually kind of interesting because it throws back to the, yeah. Also, yeah, fun fact, that actual backdrop there, that's in the, well, the backdrop that was there, actually, if you look at it, it can be perceived to represent what the Dark World map looks like. Also, it looks like we have someone joining the live channel. Hello.
Hello.
Let me just turn you up a little bit, because you're a bit quiet.
That's an oof from me.
Why is it an oof for you?
No, about the volume.
Oh.
Listen, I'm happy. I haven't touched this game in like 3 weeks.
And Radhew, ooh, PB's by a second. But a PB is a PB, am I right?
Heck yeah.
Both runners PBing during a race. I don't think I've seen that before.
Of course, of all the runs I PB with, it was the one where I get caught with a Rudin. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, at least it was a Rudin and not the blocks or one skip, because that one can actually lose you a lot more time.
Oh.
No, like I was saying in the commentary before, you know, apart from that one Rudin, both of you got all your encounter skips that you needed to, apart from Head Hathy, because that's actually impossible. You know, both good runs overall, and like I said, you know, both PBing in a race. I don't think I've actually seen that before in my time commentating for Undertale and Deltarune.
I think what pushed me over was building the duck.
Yeah. It was 20. Oh no, it was 29:30. Sorry, I thought. No, Stars was 28:03. Yes, I apologize. So Radhew actually PBing by 28 seconds and not 1 second.
I'll take that. Okay.
Sorry, I completely blanked on that, and I had a little notepad up telling me the PBs and the seedings for the runners.
And you had me convinced.
I mean, I knew you PB, and I just didn't realize it was by as much as I thought it was. So yeah, Radhew with a new PB of 29:02, starsmiley with a new PB of 27:55. Congratulations to both.
Heck yeah, thank you.
And congratulations to Star on advancing into the 3rd round, I think it is. Let me just pull up the bracket. I believe that's the 3rd. Yes. You'll be going on to face Yes in the 3rd round, and unfortunately, Radhew, you'll be dropping into the bottom bracket, where you'll be, let me see, 12. You'll be facing the loser of the 6th bracket match, which is Fully Blank and Oogle, which I think is happening later on in the week. Let me just pull that up. Nope, it's not up there yet, so it hasn't it's not happening. But yeah, any thoughts or any comments you want to say about the runs, or anything in general that you want to pass on to the audience?
I'm really happy with my results. Like I said, I haven't touched this game in 3 weeks, so I'm very surprised that I managed to PB.
I'm also very surprised as well. Like, I was super rusty. I had no time to practice. I actually learned the Red Buster strats this morning. So with how that went, I'm very satisfied with it.
Yep. And again, both PB during the race. That's definitely a positive. Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to add, or should we start getting ready to wrap things up?
I have nothing else.
Nothing from me.
Okay, cool. Well, on behalf of everyone here, thank you to Speed Gaming for hosting this tournament and for putting on this race today on their channel. If you like what you saw, by all means, feel free to follow the runners, or if you wanted to, follow the commentator. I'm sure I did a decent job. And if you're actually interested in learning the run, we have a Discord that is run in conjunction with the Undertale Discord. And we have a lot of people there that are willing to help out if you're looking to run this game, or, we have a lot of guides up on speedrun.com. So it's definitely a nice community and, very helpful. And, if it's the sort of game you want to get into, by all means, jump along and have a try. Like I said, it's a 30-minute run on average, so it's sweet, straight to the point. And yeah, that's basically it for me. So again, thank you for having us. Hopefully you enjoyed the race. And I do believe we have... Okay, not for a little while. Not for about 10 hours, I think. Coming up on the 23rd of December at midnight Eastern Standard Time, we have Isaiah versus Enzo. Channel yet to be determined. We have BGP versus Potato at 8 AM on Sunday. And then on Monday at 1 PM, Yoshi Killer versus Chorvin. I think I pronounced that right. So definitely stay tuned for those races, and hopefully I'll be seeing you around sometime. Otherwise, from myself and from Star and Radhew, I guess goodbye for now, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Enjoy the rest of the runs, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.